What's going on Facebook? What's going on YouTubes? Got another video to put up. I had a great conversation with my boy Billy Ratliff, everybody's favorite number 40, about some injuries. And before we get into that conversation, I wanted to tell everybody that that are on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to be doing some drawings for some gift certificates to Hound Dogs, our lead sponsor. $25 gift certificates. And if you're on Facebook, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Volunteer Roadshow. And if you're on YouTube, you need to like and follow our Facebook page, again, Volunteer Roadshow. And I'm going to be announcing followers and subscribers from both of those pages as winners for our gift certificates. And the first winner on our YouTube page is Kenny Solomon, and Facebook is Jim Wheeler. Both of you guys contact me at volunteerroadshow@gmail.com, and I'll get you the information to get you a $25 gift certificate for the great folks at Hound Dogs, Jesse and Don. They're great guys. We did our orange and white live broadcast from Hound Dogs. It's just a great store. They've got everything you want that's orange or got a power tee on it. They've got it in there, and if they don't, they probably don't make it. But anyway, before we get into this conversation I had with Billy about his injuries, what sparked this was we had Fulmer on the show on our last video, and Fulmer made a statement that said that he tells everybody all the time that had Billy not had a couple of significant injuries, he'd have played a long time in the NFL. And I decided I'd just do some research on that, because I really couldn't remember. Heck, that's been 20 years ago, and come across some big time injuries that Billy had, and I just wanted to talk to Billy about it and just see his perspective of those injuries and how he's feeling now. But before we get into the conversation I had with him, I'm going to play Billy's last two plays of his career, which was at the very beginning of the Auburn game in 1999. So I would say enjoy these clips, but it's nothing to sit back and enjoy, but just for a lead in to our conversation.
Right guard over to center. That is the patchwork line that Auburn is using tonight. Nothing on the running play as Billy Ratliff collides with Rusty Williams. And here are the starters on defense. This is a very good down four, a veteran group. Ratliff, you just saw, he's out of Magnolia, Mississippi, along with Sean Ellis. Darwin Walker did not turn pro, wanted to get his engineering degree. Will Overstreet at the other defensive end. Linebackers Westmoreland, Stevenson, and Raynoch Thompson. Raynoch, a veteran, of course. And in the secondary, Gaines replacing Dwayne Goodrich, the team captain I spoke of in the open tonight, who was suspended. That's the only change in the secondary for the Volunteers. Well, Tennessee's going to be offside on that, and Williams has 5, has 10. He will take it up to the 30-yard line. And that, I don't know if they're going to take the penalty of the play here. They may have the first down.
They need to take the play, and Auburn hasn't done much in the running game area.
Well, Ratliff, a veteran performer.
Looked offside against the defense. That penalty is declined. Third down.
Couldn't tell if Billy got kicked or if he turns his ankle. If he did turn it, it's a very high sprain. Listen, you say 7-0. You've only played 1 minute and 5 seconds. That's right. An interception on the very first play of the game. Deion Grant took it 19 yards for the Tennessee touchdown.
Ron, it's like blood in the water for a shark. When you get this defense, who I think is very, very talented, and on offense for Auburn, they're 106 out of 112 running the football. I mean, you've got a mismatch on this side of the ball.
All right, Billy, it's been a while since we've uploaded a video. You've got to watch your son graduate, and it's time to get back to making some videos, some football videos. And I haven't told you about what I want this show to be about, and it's just going to come right off the cuff. I was watching a a video and I read some articles about a couple of your injuries, and I wasn't aware of some of these injuries, and I just thought I'd talk to you about it.
Okay.
One of the injuries, I believe I read, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in '97, you had a pretty bad neck injury. Was that in practice or during a game? Let's just talk about that. I want to know more about that injury and your other injuries that you had, and talk about, you know, the game of football and the lasting effects it has on players.
Well, I'll tell you that injury when I had the neck and back injury back in '97, I do remember it was the week of us getting ready to play Ole Miss here at home. And the reason I remember that is because, you know, that's where I was from, Mississippi, and I had a lot of family coming in town to come watch me play. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, on Monday, you know, we're doing goal line drills, and you notice when on goal line with the defensive lineman, you know, you're kind of wedging to pretty much fill the hole where no one can go anywhere. You're just gonna make a big pile. And this was my first, you know, week actually doing it, because normally I come out on goal line because they typically have me on the tight end or someone just to make sure, which I can't guard a tight end. I never had to in college. And this week we tried me as a wedge. And as I'm wedging, you know, I go down and I go a little bit lower and I hit one of my teammates' knees. And all of a sudden I couldn't move. And the one thing I do remember is when, I think it was Leonard Little, he came up and kind of picked me up, because typically, you know, after it was the last play of the drills and we go on to the next play. And normally I'm the guy that's jumping up, laughing and joking and stuff, but this time I didn't get up, you know, and they knew something was wrong with me then. And when Leonard, he kind of picked me up, and to this day the doctors say if Leonard, if he wouldn't have picked me up and kind of realigned my spine back in place, I probably wouldn't be walking today, because at that point in time,
Wow.
you know, I think it was more of kind of like a knee sprain in a sense. It was like a back sprain, a spine sprain, or however they call it, a spinal contusion. As I remember going to the emergency room, and, you know, and the ambulance and everything, and I remember Dr. Ivan was in the ambulance with me, and of course me, I'm in there smiling and laughing because I couldn't believe this was happening to me. And you know, I didn't really get real until they put me on the table in the emergency room, on the operating table, and they started cutting all this stuff off me with the saw, with the helmet, cutting my pads off with the scissors and stuff. And,
Wow.
you know, and then I realized it was really real when I remember the nurse, you know, grabbing my stuff and putting the catheter down in me, and I couldn't feel it, you know, and then in my eyes I thought I felt it, but, you know, I couldn't feel anything from my waist down. And I do remember I was in the hospital for, I think, a little bit 24, actually about 2.5, about a day and a half. And of course, you know, that's when I realized that I was paralyzed. I couldn't feel anything, and, you know, that whole time, and me just thinking about it, going back and just remember, what I do remember is trying to just move something where I couldn't move anything. And everything I'm moving was my mouth, my face, just my cheekbones, you know, that's the only thing I can move. And, you know, I just remember my family coming up and just thinking about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to react when I get here. Of course, you know, once you see your mom, that's when all the tears going to come out, because, you know, that's your comforter and everything. And this time is actually, you know, it wasn't my mom, it was Miss Judy Jackson, because she was the one that was in there with me the whole time. And
Wow.
you know, it was a tough situation. I never felt that before in my life, as far as an injury, because I mean, I've been injured many times with other injuries, as far as like knee injury, ACL, you know, broken fingers, you know, broken shins and stuff. But the being paralyzed like that, it was a life-changing moment for me. And of course, you know, I think a week passed by, we played another team, and of course I didn't get to play that week. And I think the following, well, that they let me out 3 days later after that, and I don't forget who we played, but then I know the following week we played Alabama, and they actually, released me to play again. But of course, I had to, sign waivers to say that, I'm making this choice based on what I wanted to do, and of course, I wanted to play. I mean, I know I can play. I still felt like I was able to play. Of course, I probably shouldn't have been playing, but in a football player's mind, as an athlete, you want to play with your teammates, and that's what I wanted to do. And I remember going back out on the field on Alabama week when we was practicing. Of course, I didn't do the goal line situation and stuff, but I still practice some of the stuff as far as guarding the tight end as being one-on-one. And I just remember Coach Brooks, he kept, pampering me, trying to baby me and just not let me do any drills and stuff. And of course, I'm like, Coach, I can do it. Trust me, I can do it. I promise you, if I couldn't, I wouldn't be out here. And I do remember when we played Alabama, that was probably one of my best games I played my whole career. When I came back, I had a couple of tackles for loss, a couple of sacks, and it was amazing because I had missed 2 weeks of playing, so I have fresh legs. Everybody else is tired, and I'm running 100 miles per hour. Where these guys like, oh my God, where this guy came from. But I just had fun, and it's just I know it sounds bad, which it was bad that I even went back out there to even play, and I still. Coaches still say they can't believe that I was able to come back from such a, traumatic injury, and I'm glad I did it. But still to this day, I know my body is paying for it now. But if I had to do it all over again, I'd go out there and do it the exact same way.
Yeah, because you're a fighter, you're a lion. But you mentioned that Leonard Little moved you, and the doctor said if he wouldn't have, you could be paralyzed today. But everything I've ever heard is when somebody has a neck injury, don't touch them. You could make it worse.
And that's true. And I don't think he was thinking about that at the time, because the way we practiced, we were so motivated, with so high energy, where it was like you don't leave no one behind. And you see someone down, you just kind of pep them up to move them, even if it's like a little ankle injury. Just let's at least go to the next drill, get someone else in. Therefore, we knew it was okay. But I don't think he expected me to be, having a neck injury at that time, because these guys, they've never seen me down. I'm always the one that's joking around, laughing, jumping around, running around, and to see me down for that quick second, it was just him, just like picking me up and like, let's get ready, let's go. It's just the end of practice or whatever. It was just, I'm glad he did what he did, but they say he shouldn't have did it, but I'm thinking if he wouldn't have did it, where would I be right now? So yeah, I'm thankful to be walking today.
Now, as far as your family and everybody coming in, did they still come into the game, or did you call and tell them you're injured and they didn't come? And how was that conversation when they found out you were hurt?
Well, I remember when Miss Jackson came in and told me, what was really going on as far as how serious and severe my injury was. I don't think I even got a chance to even talk to my mom or anybody. I think the message was relayed through the medical staff and the coaches. And based on that, it was just more of my mom, my aunts, and of course with my family, it's never just going to be one or two people come in to see me. These,
yeah.
If you know how Southern families are, they're large, And me, I had a lot of women in my family that raised me, and pretty much all these women came up. So it was at least 15 people that came up. Of course, my uncles and everybody, they're going to show up. Just because of that support. That's just how the family was. So I think, as far as the game was, they can care less about what was going on with the game. Of course, me, I'm still wanting to play. Of course, playing, Ole Miss, my hometown, and want to play against these guys. But I had to get that out of my mind as far as playing for 2 days, because I was ready to play the next week once they let me out of the hospital.
Yeah. Now, didn't you have a pretty bad injury that pretty much ended your career in '99, didn't you? An ankle injury?
Yeah, that's probably the toughest injury that I ever had. I ended up having a situation where we was playing. I think that was Auburn, which I was actually having a pretty good game that game too. And I remember one of Auburn players hit Will Overstreet late, and they fell on the back of my ankle. And I just thought I had a sprung ankle at the time when I did it. And of course, this was another situation. It was just during the game, and I'm just sitting on the field. And of course, everybody know me. I don't lay on the field. That's something I don't like people seeing me injured or hurt or anything. Of course, my family will tell you that today. You won't know if he's sick, injured, or hurt, anything like that. There's been times where I played ball games, even my freshman year, when my first injury at the University of Tennessee, when I tore my first ACL. I'm playing as a freshman, and I remember playing the University of South Carolina, playing behind Leonard Little, and I remember Leonard Little, he tore his ACL, and I'm a freshman now. I'm starting, so they installed me into the game, and believe it or not, the next play I tore my ACL.
Oh man!
And of course, no one knew I tore my ACL that game. I kept on playing. I think we played a couple of more teams. I think we played Memphis, which was the Memphis Miracle thing, where Memphis beat us on that kickoff return where they should have blew them down. And I played them. Of course, I don't think Memphis had 100 yards that game, and we lost to Memphis. And I think we came back for homecoming, and I played that whole game. And I think the following week we had to play Arkansas Razorbacks, and I think that was the game where the coaches thought I got hurt that game, but that's when I realized I couldn't play at a high level against the SEC on a knee like that. The Razorbacks, those guys are big guys, and they're 330 pounds, and I'm a freshman trying to go against these guys, and I of course I played good, making some great plays, but it was hurting really bad, and I had to come out the game because I couldn't play at the high level that I'm used to playing. And I remember going off the sideline, and the trainers and everybody just want to ask me what happened, and I told them I couldn't play anymore. My knee is hurt. I did this back 3 weeks ago against South Carolina, right after Leonard tore his knee, and of course they're like, "Are you kidding me? How? I don't remember anything like that." Sure enough, the coaches went back and watched the video, the game tape of us, and they watch it, and I tell them, just go. You remember this play right after Leonard got hurt, and y'all installed me into the game. If you see me right there running, I'm kind of jogging, and it wasn't any freak type industry. It was just me just walking, and it just gave out. And that's when it was. It just, I still to this day, I can't believe I continued to play, but it was just the adrenaline, just being a freshman playing in the SEC, starting, was the reason for me to continue to play.
Yeah, I know that happens all the time. Kids get hurt, and they get their first opportunity. I probably wouldn't have said anything either. And of course, an ACL injury, Billy, was a lot different back in the mid '90s than it is today. It's a lot more, or a lot less serious of an injury now than it was back then.
You're right about that. I mean, everything is the technology now, where a knee injury now is easy, where they can go get the cadavers and stuff and put it in there instead of using your own ligaments and stuff. Yeah. It's just depends on if the body accepts it. Back then you got to think about who I had to work out with. Me and Leonard Little, we're competing against each other, who's getting healthy first and stuff like that. So we still had competition when it came to injuries too. We had the cripple room, what we called it, and me, Leonard Little, Jarvis Rito, Phil Crosby, we was pretty much rehab buddies, and you got these guys competing against each other to get well quick. So, even back then, me and Leonard and these guys, we was healthy a lot sooner than most people were back then because of the medical stuff that we had back there with Mike Rollo. Those guys, they gave us great treatment, and it was tough, but it ended up being easy for us to be able to work out with each other like that and get back healthy. So it was a tough road, but to me it was easy to get back because I wanted to get back on the field. Something that we couldn't leave our brothers out there that long without us, and it was well worth it. And I like I said, I go back and do it again to this day.
Before we go on to how you're feeling now, what kind of medical attention and did the university give to injured players? Was there just spare no expense? We're going to get these guys back, and they really take care of you on a medical end.
It's a high level event. These guys took care of us. I speak for myself, and I'm quite sure I can say this for everybody. They spared no time. Anytime we had to be able to in the training room to get treatment, they did whatever it took to make sure we was healthy. They found the best doctors in the world to get advice from, whether it's, it don't matter where it was at, UCLA, Alabama, whatever. They wanted to know what treatments they was doing to get their guys back on the field. And that's what we had with Mike Rollo and those guys back in the day there. Even today, it's crucial with the medical staff that you have to take care of you, because if you don't have a great medical staff, it's not going to work right. And I always say these words anytime new coaches come in or whatever. There's two parts of the staff that I say you never get rid of. It's the medical staff and the strength and conditioning staff. Those guys are the guys that watch these guys and they know these guys' bodies. And I still say that's the reason why the Vols went down so fast.
Yeah. So you think the strength and conditioning program had a contributing factor to our performance on the field?
It's huge. It's like I say, these guys are with the athletes the majority of the time besides the medical staff. They know these guys a lot better than the coaches know these guys. If you me, I still know all the strength and conditioning coaches that I had. They've all went on to bigger schools where they're actually head strength coaches now. There's so many of guys that are competing out there now, and it's basically a spin-off of the rehab program of the medical staff, because they know your body, they know what your body can and cannot do, and they focus on those weaknesses and strengths that you have, and they just know your body. I remember me growing from freshman to senior. If you just see the evolution of my body from being kind of like a chubby linebacker to a 290-pound defensive tackle with hardly any body fat and stuff, and it's like night and day. You see a guy like Leonard Little, from his first year there, at 12% body fat, leaving at 4% body fat at 260 pounds. That's huge. That's unheard of, and it makes a big difference with the strength and conditioning staff. As you can see all over the country now, they're starting to get these guys in. They know they're making a lot more money now with the strength and conditioning stuff. Alabama would not let their strength and conditioning coaches go. Clemson, they would not let them go. If anything, they're losing because of the money. But right now, they're paying those guys the right money, the good money, to be able to take care of those kids.
I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's true. I think it's true. I heard Alabama plays that one strength and conditioning coach that's always on the sideline when it turns fourth quarter, holding up the four fingers like $1 million a year.
Well, it speaks for what it's doing now. You can see what Alabama's been doing for the last century now, and since Nick been there, it's been great. He hired some good guys that's been there for a while, and I think those guys was already there when Nick got there, so that's what I mean by, don't get rid of the strength and conditioning coaches. They leave what's there. If it's anything, you want to bring some more guys in to help him. That's like what Tennessee did. Think about how many strength and conditioning coaches they went through. You're saying coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, and it makes a big difference when you have those guys set in place to continue the traditions of what they've already been doing. You got 4 different strength coaches training 4 different years, it's not going to work.
Yeah. And they say the strength and conditioning program is what keeps you from having injured players. We've had several years where we've lost key players on the team over the last decade. But let's move on to how you feeling now. Do you have any lingering effects? How has those injuries affected your life today?
Well, I mean, for a long time, it did, bother me as far as like getting this weight off and stuff, because, with these knees, my neck and all this stuff, the weight has always been my issue with my pain.
Mm-hmm.
And, helping, right now, trying to keep the weight off has been tough, especially when you eat like Herman soul food and stuff like that. So, me trying to keep the weight off, keep it off, it's been tough, but I say it's easy now because I'm learning how to eat again. As an athlete, they taught you how to eat a lot of calories and how to keep the weight on, but they never taught us how to keep the weight off, and that's something that I'm learning now, and I'm working on that. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing what everybody else always say. I'm going to start on Monday to start back on this weight process, and instead of it being a New Year resolution, I'm gonna start at a next Monday resolution where I started for the rest of the year.
Well, let's do it. And as far as your neck injury, do you have any lingering effects from that at all, or do you think you're pretty much healed?
Well, I think I still have some of the issues. I kind of shy away from it and don't worry about it because I'm used to the pain. And believe it or not, I actually just had a little fender bender a couple of weeks ago. Someone rear-ended me, so that's triggering myself now. Going to the chiropractor and stuff and get treatment and stuff. So it's been a tough situation trying to stay pain-free, but I've learned to manage it.
Well, I'm glad that you're not suffering. I know with my truck wreck, I'm still lingering. Most of my problems now is in the mental aspect, memory, things like that. My back is probably 90% healed. If I sit a long time, my back starts hurting, and sometimes you just got to sit a long time in this job. But I just wanted to go over the injuries. I hope I didn't catch you off guard, but I was thinking about that today when I read some of those articles, and just wanted to ask you about them. And we've had some of our best conversations I wish were recorded when we just talk on the phone just as buddies, and I said I'm going to do this one recorded. But I appreciate you sharing with all of us your trials and how you've gotten better.
Well, I'm glad you asked those questions, because I normally don't just throw that information out there, but you caught me off guard with that one, Catfish.
All right, guys, everybody that's new to YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to start doing some more giveaways from Hound Dogs. I'm going to start announcing them on our Facebook page and YouTube page here the next week or so. We're going to be doing some more videos. We've got some interviews lined up. We've got some former players and going to come on the show and talk to us. So thanks for tuning in. Go Vols.
Yes, sir.
I tell you what, Billy, we're going to a bowl game this coming year. I promise you that.
Yes, sir.